Please welcome to the stage Executive Vice President of International Operations at Schneider Electric, Manish Pant.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you, and thanks for making it this Monday morning. We are here together to act for impact, and I'm very privileged to kick off this Innovation Summit. Being in Australia, or I should say in the Pacific for over 30 years now, has been a true privilege with our partners and customers that have really made us strong, and together we are delivering this impact that is taking the world on this path of decarbonization even faster. And let's talk in the coming 30 minutes about what are the trends and how we are seeing them impacting us, and therefore what do we collectively do differently going forward. I think just to set the stage, we know that end of 2024, the temperature rise was already at 1.55 degrees. I mean, that's what some of the studies have been saying. And therefore, the need to go faster on the journey of ensuring that by the turn of the century, it doesn't go beyond the 1.5 degrees, we would really need to bend the curve and bend the curve with all the technology that we have here, and some of that we are demonstrating in this Innovation Summit. So I'm going to talk about the 5 mega trends that are shaping our industries and see how they are bringing the tailwinds for what we are doing and therefore what we could be doing more and differently. I'll start with the new global equilibrium, which we know has taken a very different dimension, I would say, from the beginning of this year, because on top of what was happening in this in the world, which was before very well connected and I would say quite interdependent, the polarity is starting to bring an impact. And what we are seeing is that today there is a greater decoupling of economies, and therefore we need to be ready for that. And at the same time, there's a reshoring of industries, which is happening because everybody wants to build a regional supply chain so that we are able to respond faster and be agile for our customers and the solutions that we bring. Now, having said that, I would say the word regional itself is being challenged, as we have been reading what's going on, the added dimension of tariffs being on top of what we had seen before, and therefore, the challenge of supply chains become even more intense, and the response to it needs to be different. At Schneider Electric, we have been also working on regional supply chains, and we are committed to reaching almost 90% of what we supply in different parts of the world through a regional supply chain. And of course, we are here, and all of us, while we are doing that, we need to be collectively working on meeting the net zero targets that we have set for ourselves. So I would say that on top of that, we need to also make sure that our supply chains are cyber secure, automated, and ready for the future in terms of how we are prepared for these changes that are happening right now. Moving on to our second mega trend, which is what we call as infrastructure development. If you look at Australia, here there is a population growth which is supposed to be 2 million people coming by 2030 and closer to 7 million by 2050. All this needs new infrastructure to be built, both for the growth of population, for the wealth creation that is happening, at the same time for what is existing today that also needs to be taken to the path of net zero. So today, the pace of growth of new buildings being modernized is at 2%. And let's remember that 80% of the buildings that are today would still be in place by 2050. So we need to accelerate this existing infrastructure development and get it on the path to decarbonize, which is one challenge. At the same time, the new infrastructure which is built, which is about the grids, which is about all the transportation, the new transportation that has to come in place to move. It is about the new hospitals, the new schools that will be built. So all of that, I think, is an opportunity for us to start from making it net zero right from the beginning. And that's, I would say, is the challenge that we have, as well as an opportunity both to look at what we are building new, but also to decarbonize what is existing and making sure that it is ready for the future. And technologies exist today, and for us to do both of them, we are here today in this Innovation Summit and showing those technologies. We'll talk about it, but we'll also showcase in the marketplace that we have behind. Moving on, the third mega trend is about climate change, and this touches all of us, irrespective of where we live. Talking about Australia, we have seen the cyclone Alfred that hit us, which was one of the strongest tropical cyclone in 50 years. So we've seen the intensity and the intermittency of these weather phenomena increase. Now, whether you are here with the cyclones, you also have the fires and then the floods in some of the other parts of the world. So it is something that which is really impacting us and is the visible form of how I would say the impact of carbon and why the need for decarbonization is so strong, okay? And we need to really act on it and act fast. So the good news is that over 100 countries have committed to the path of net zero, and it is in the region of 2050 and 2070. At the same time, there is also a commitment to energy efficiency, and we saw in the last COP, a lot of countries have committed to double what they are doing on energy efficiency. Of course, this will come with new investments that have to happen in order to drive and mitigate what is happening on climate change. I think today, if you look at Australia, it is setting an example for the rest of the world, because clearly the growth of the economy, which is in the blue curve, and the growth of emissions, or I should rather say the degrowth of emissions, which is in the orange curve here, and they are clearly delinked. So Australia had doubled its GDP in 2010, and peaked emissions in 2007. So clearly it's an example of what other countries are able to see, that economic growth and the growth of carbon are clearly delinked. And that's a great encouragement for especially the new economies, which are even on an accelerated path of economic growth, that they can continue to grow, at the same time manage the growth of, or the degrowth of carbon. At the same time, we talked about the countries, but then we have companies, corporations, that are also committed to net zero. What we have seen is, over the last 5 years, there's been a 9-time increase in the number of companies that have committed to net zero. Through SBTi, it's somewhere in the range of 7,200 companies. And all across the world, as you can see here from the chart, that Asia Pacific is actually quite up there, with 35% of companies having committed to the path of net zero. You have also, on the other side, if you look at the type of companies, this is also interesting, because the small and medium enterprises are contributing to 54% of this commitment. So that's great news for us that, the commitment to net zero by companies is all across the world and across all types of companies. And for us, that's a great news, because the path of decarbonization and the journey to net zero cannot happen alone. It has to happen when we are all together. And I would say that this is a little bit of paradox with what is happening on the economies, but on the other side, for carbon, we need to make sure that we are all together in this. At Schneider, we have taken a commitment of our top 1,000 suppliers, which represent almost 75% of our total carbon, to take them using the technologies that we have on the path of net zero. And this is something that we are sharing with some of our customers, some of the other industrial groups, including semiconductors, food and beverage, and to see how we could be deploying that. Because today, scope 3 for all of us is upwards of 90%. I would say I can talk about Schneider Electric, where 99% of scope 3 is, 99% of the carbon is scope 3. Therefore, the need to act with our suppliers is very, very high. And this is what we all need to be doing more and more. Moving on the other side, while we are making the commitments, and we've seen large companies doing that, it's the data in terms of how many are actually making it is not very encouraging. What we see is actually the number of companies that are delivering on the target has actually dropped from 12% to 10%. And we did a survey to find out why this is happening, and what came out as some of the key things is the lack of technological expertise, both in terms of solutions, but also in terms of the climate science, insufficient data, and the availability of data to make decisions, and all around financing and costs. So those were some of the buckets that we see is why companies are not delivering. Now, the good news is that the solutions are available, and of course, as we get on this journey, we need to see how we are accelerating this exchange and to partner to see how we could remove some of these challenges that we are seeing in order to deploy and get faster on the path of net zero. I can share, here are some of the companies, and there are a lot of them, but we like to talk about Big Red Group, which has partnered with the sustainability business of Schneider Electric to address the scope 3 emissions, which are accounting for 99% of their footprint. Not very different from what we have at Schneider Electric. And using those solutions, we help them validate their SBTi targets, and today they are on the path of 42% reductions by 2030, and therefore driving more responsible tourism across Australia and New Zealand, which is the core of the company. Another example in Blue Connections IT, which is partnering with Schneider Electric to reduce and track emissions across the company, as we have been partnering with them for over 25 years, and they are getting closer to the net zero goals and optimizing their energy usage with the solutions of Schneider Electric. So there are many more examples that we can bring of companies that are successful, and let's get inspiration, and it can really happen because they are able to deliver, so why can't we? Moving on to the fourth, and I would say the fourth mega trend is about digitization and artificial intelligence. I would say that digitization is at the core of what we do in terms of sustainability, because that is the mechanism to make energy visible. We are now able to see what we are doing with our energy. We are able to track it. We are able to generate data. and therefore we are able to use that data and to see how we are able to work more deploying artificial intelligence, and therefore we see that digitization and artificial intelligence kind of go together. The world is becoming more and more digital. In our industrial world, everything is moving towards software-defined, and later on we are going to talk more about it, whether it's about software-defined automation, software-defined energy management, and that's what is changing in this industry and something that we need to get ready for. Use of software takes us to digital twins, carbon twins, process twins, energy twins, and therefore, changing the way we work all across the cycle of design, build, operate, and maintain through the life cycle of our assets. So, looking at artificial intelligence, I think this is something that is moving very fast. We've seen that the deployment of artificial intelligence to reach 100 million people happened in 2 months versus 7 years that it took for the World Wide Web to reach the same, I would say, to the same level of adoption. And this is something which is very encouraging, and it's changing our lives. Sometimes if you think of it, when we took the targets for net zero and to say that we will reduce 50% by 2030 to get to net zero by 2050, it was before artificial intelligence had, came and was accepted in terms of the level of deployment that is happening today. And therefore, we should be more encouraged that the more the deployment, though it's something that is also impacting the other side, and we'll talk about it in terms of what we do with data centers, but there's a lot of, I would say, positivity that we could be using artificial intelligence to see how we could drive more what we are doing in terms of net zero. And with what we are seeing today with DeepSeek, and new models which are coming in, that is leading to a democratization of artificial intelligence, and therefore even more deployment of the tools that would happen in the industrial world. I know that, at least for me, I can say that the deployment of artificial intelligence in the personal life happened with my child, a couple of years ago with ChatGPT, which is very, very universally used now by children all over. But bringing it into the industrial world and to see how we could actively take it more, this is what we need to be doing. And we at Schneider Electric are bringing solutions, and we'll be talking about it and sharing that with you over the course of the next 2 days. When we talk about artificial intelligence, I think before that we have to see how we are able to connect everything that we have in the industrial world. The episode 1 of the internet, which is about people to people, I think is over, and now it is about episode 2, which is about connecting people to machines and machines to machines. And this is something that will happen more. And this would happen as we are able to deploy more IoT devices. Everything needs to get connected. We are working, and today we have solutions that are able to connect everything from the grid to the plug, and to see how we are able to create the data and therefore act on it in order to drive more productivity, more efficiency, more safety, because now you have different tools that are able to help us make people safe when they are working in very challenging environments, whether it is working inside a gas pipeline, repairing a gas pipeline, or even looking at an electrical panel and making sure that we are having all the digital tools to work on them. So the use and the proliferation of this industrial sensors and tools are going to double every year, and this is going to create more data, for us so that we could further deploy artificial intelligence on top of that and further have a positive impact in terms of all those values that we talked about. Some examples of companies that have been using digital is Capgemini is one of them. They are using our solutions in India for their 23 campuses, 70 buildings that have shown a 23% energy saving and have transitioned to 100% renewable energy, and it's a net positive campus because it is bringing energy back to the grid when they are not using it. And now they're taking that globally to deploy across campuses and also to partner with us to take it to other customers. Another example that I don't want to talk, but we have a video here from Toyota that have been using solutions and seeing how here in Australia it is able to help them.
The Toyota Altona site is a very large site. We have product design and development, we have warehousing operations, we have vehicle processing operations and some light manufacturing. Our role is to support all those operations in whatever their needs are from a facilities and infrastructure point of view. Digital transformation is really important for us in terms of efficiency. We have a very large site to manage with a very small team. By digitalising things, we're able to get things like messaging if there's a fault or a problem. We can then react to that very quickly and effectively and efficiently. Schneider Electric's EcoStruxure products enable us to gather data from all of our different locations across the site, different types of metering that we have, electricity metering, water metering and gas metering. So we're covering all these different types of data that we need to collect and then visualise. At our Toyota sites, we have connected products including UPS, meters, PLCs, EV chargers, BMS controllers and high and medium voltage products, all controlled by EcoStruxure building operations and power monitoring. Applications and analytics then give us valuable data and insights. It's also enabled us to install solar car park, which is important for our renewable energy generation strategy. It's also enabled us to install EV recharging facilities. We've installed 2 substations recently, and those 2 substations allow us to move power around the site. They've also enabled us to connect a solar car park into our infrastructure on the site and also incorporate EV charging to the site. We used Schneider because we were well versed with their products. We had a good understanding of what their capabilities were. But partnering with Schneider Electric has helped us manage a very complex and dynamic site and helped us to achieve our sustainability goals. The 3 words that come to mind when I think of Schneider Electric are quality, innovation and partnership.
Yeah, so here are companies that have been using that, and we are here. I repeat once again to share those solutions with you, and we will demonstrate some of this and even more what we are bringing in our marketplace. So moving on to the final mega trend, which is around energy transition, and this is a major topic for us because as we transition, it is giving us a lot of opportunities to innovate and do things differently. While we talk about energy transition, I think first it's very important for us to also see that the demand for energy is going to increase. And this demand is going to increase both from I would say the 2 billion people that are going to be added by 2050 across the world, but also we have to give access to energy to 1 billion people who don't have it. And that's a bit paradoxical that we still have people who don't have access to energy. And I would say there are people on top of the 3 billion, another 2 billion who have intermittent access to energy. So about 5 million people that we need to take care of by 2050. So there's need for more energy. And as we think, the problem of decarbonization or the problem of carbon is linked to 80% of that is coming from energy. and this energy needs to be moved. Therefore, how do we balance that? How do we have more energy at the same time we get on the path of net zero? And that's a challenge for this energy transition that we are facing. Now, the good news is that 70% of these 80% of carbon, which is coming from energy, can be solved with technologies that are available today. 50%, I would say, of the solution is in terms of the demand side, on the supply side, and 50% roughly is on the demand side. Now, on the supply side, we are working very fast in terms of driving the pace of renewable in the mix of generation. In Australia, it is already at 30%, little over 30% in terms of the mix of renewables, and the plan is to get to 80% by 2030. And clearly that is in progress. But at the same time, if you look at the demand side, which is 50% of the solution of this decarbonization, that also needs to happen faster. Now, when you look at the demand side, we can further divide it into two. One is electrification. Electricity is the cleanest vector of decarbonization because we can generate it with zero carbon thanks to renewable. And electrification is something that we are seeing happening. First is the electric vehicle on transportation, which is very visible. 1 in 10 cars in Australia today is EV, and that pace is the pace of penetration of EV is increasing, not just in Australia but all over the world. And we know that the reason why we are moving to electrical vehicle is not only because it is decarbonizing the world, but it is because those of us who have driven electric cars, we know that these are great drives. They are much more efficient. They are also efficient in terms of the money that we spent on running and maintaining the cars. So that's a great example of how electrification, which is the cleanest vector and also most efficient, because when we are generating, taking again the example of the electric car, an electric vehicle is much more efficient and you waste much less energy when you're using electrical versus a traditional industrial combustion, the internal combustion engine cars. Okay. It's happening in colder climates where moving from electrical heating, or from gas heating straight to heat pumps, which is the most efficient form of heating. Today, it's being widely deployed in Europe, and I'm sure here in the colder climates where we have in Australia. So electrification, the more electrification happens, and the same is being deployed in the industrial sector as well. We have huge opportunity to convert heating, which is today traditionally gas, in the industrial process to electrical heating. And the same level of efficiency, the same level of decarbonization, the same resilience we are able to bring as we do that electrification. And the good news again is that technology is available to help get on the path of electrification in our processes, electrification in our industrial sites, just as we have in our homes and in transportation sector. And then the other part of the other half of demand side management is in terms of efficiency, in terms of energy efficiency. We talked about digitization. As we deploy more and more digital solutions, we are able to measure and therefore control and reduce, with the technologies available, the level of energy that we are using. So let's save, because the amount we save is the amount that we don't need to generate, or the amount that we could then put to other uses in terms of what we need for data centers, or we need for this new population that is going to come in the future. And this equation, I think, works very well. The only thing we need to do is we need to do it much, much faster. Now, the question is always, when we use these technologies, what is the economic side of it? So yeah, there are savings. We talked about the savings. We looked at the example of different companies like Capgemini. We looked at Toyota. Many examples, and I think here what we can say is the payback period for most of these solutions are between 3 to 5 years, and never more than 10 years. And this is what our studies are showing, and therefore we could be deploying them. So both the economics and sustainability and the path of net zero go together. What is good for the planet is good for the wallet, and what is good for the wallet is also good for the planet. I mean, whichever way we look at it. So as we do this, I think looking at supply and demand, it's very important that we have the grid in between, and that grid needs to be digitized. If the grid is not digitized, it is like a highway without any exit. And with all the decentralized generation that is happening, whether it's on our rooftops or whether it is through microgrids, the need for integration and the bidirectional, or I would say multidirectional flow of energy, of electricity, can only happen when we have a digitized grid. And we have in Australia the Southern Power Networks, SAPN, which is one of the leading utilities in the world, and using the solutions from Schneider Electric to see how they are able to get 1 million data points that are connected and helping them save over millions of euros every year. They are also using some of the other green technologies on hardware by using SF6 free switchgear, which is built around using air technology. So we call it the air set. And using these the air sets, we are saving almost 25 times of potential carbon, or equivalent of carbon, as we move from SF6 to air. Solutions are, again, available here. The question is how fast we are able to deploy them and work on them. And we have seen that the payback of them exists, and therefore, it's how we are able to deploy it faster and get on this journey. So to conclude, I would say that what companies need today is around resilience, it's around agility, it's around efficiency, and here the solutions are there with a combination of digital that we talked about, which brings more visibility and efficiency, and on the other side with more electrification, and together the equation works very well, that digital plus electrical plus electric is equal to sustainable. At Schneider Electric, we are doing that by bringing solutions across energy management and automation. I think the other thing that digitization is doing is really helping us in this convergence across silos of energy management, and even within that with medium voltage, low voltage, building automation, process automation. I mean, all of that, the power plus process now today is visible thanks to digital. And we are doing this convergence, overlaying it with the layer of software, and we will talk about that just after this, and very much focused to say how we are able to build an agnostic platform of software on top of the hardware that could work with Schneider, but also other non-Schneider gear, giving our customers a choice. Because while we have to build new, we have to also make sure that we are taking care of what is existing, and we know what is existing is with multiple brands, and therefore the agnosticity of software is a very key value for our customers, and we respect that. In order to do that, we have built this Connect platform, which is bringing ease of access, because you are able to work across different softwares on the same platform. You are able to, it's one platform on which both commercially, so you pay for the platform, but giving you the choice to move across different softwares depending on how much you want to use them. It is all built on one data layer, which is helping you to ensure that you are taking the right decisions. Everyone in the company is looking at, irrespective of the different softwares that they are using, are taking decisions built on the same data. At the same time, it is giving an opportunity to innovate, because now you have information available and the tools available in the Connect platform that help you bring more solutions either for yourself or for your customers. Moving on, and to conclude, I would say that to summarize all of this, what we are saying is that in order to get on this path of net zero and the path of decarbonization, here is a three-step process that we talk about. First is strategize, which is you measure at your enterprise level and set the path for decarbonization. And here we are able to help you in the same. The second step is about digitize, how you are able to, once you have set up the baseline with strategize, in the second step, you are able to measure and see what are the opportunities that are available for you to save that energy, and to make sure that you are monitoring the progress of that. And finally, it is about decarbonization, which is using the solutions that are available today to replace energy, to electrify the operations, and to reduce, because you have digitized and have made energy visible. And on top of that, it is also giving you opportunity for servicing, for making sure that you have circularity in your operations as well. So with this, I want to say that at Schneider Electric, we are here. Our purpose is to see how we could create impact and give you all the tools to make the most of your energy and resources. And you can count on us to be your partners on this journey of sustainability and efficiency, because it's only together that we can make this happen. Thank you very much. I want to leave you with this video, and wishing you a great rest of the session, as well as the opportunity to interact and to see how we are able to go faster on this path. Thank you very much.